This news program is proudly brought to you by
Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits
and Now Biscuits.
Kina Bank announces expansion plans despite company tax hike. Catholic Professional Society call for rethink on suspension. And a decade of suffering ends with aid post reopening. Good evening. You're watching National EMTV News. I'm Grace Papiali. Thank you for joining us. Kina Bank has announced its business plan for this year, despite the government's budget 2023 high corporation tax to 50%. Greg Pawson, the chief executive of Kina Bank, announced the expansion plans and the Prime Minister's Back to Business breakfast yesterday.
2023 is expected to be a big year for PNG, and Kina Bank will be part of the financial institutions driving growth in the economy. As the business community met yesterday with Prime Minister James Marape at the annual Prime Minister's Back to Business breakfast, hosted by the Business Council of PNG and sponsored by Kina Bank CEO Greg Pawson outlined the business plan for Kina Bank in 2023.
10 additional business advisors in regional areas, 5 new commercial banking centres in Lae, Mount Hagen, Kokopo, Goroka and Madang. We opened our first co-branded branch with MyBank in Alatau late in 2022, and we have plans this year for similar co-branded branches in 5 new locations, including Popondetta and Marpret.
Mr. Pawson revealed that over the course of 2023, 30 million Kina will be put into expansion activities for the bank. The Kina Bank CEO, alluding to the 50% company tax increase passed into the 2023 budget on banking institutions, which will have an impact on Kina Bank's expansion and growth activities.
And it would be remiss of me not to mention it. The only risk to this investment, and a rather dark shadow on the horizon for us, is the government's recent budget announcement of a plan to increase the tax rate for the commercial banks by 50%, which will regretfully have a profound impact, not only on the extent of our planned investments, which I'll touch on shortly, but also potentially financial inclusion, innovation, and of course competition. It will also unintentionally act to discourage our investors to support us and to support our growth aspirations and therefore much needed access to capital to continue to expand our services.
The Prime Minister did not respond directly to the issue of corporate tax. Rather, James Marape referred to government and business collaboration during these tough economic times.
Government discipline means sticking to budget. Government discipline means spending accordingly to our focus areas. Government discipline means ramping up in areas we need to ramp up on, whether it's in revenue or in expenditure. And I want to apologize if some revenue measures have affected one or two of you or some of you. We have to carry ourselves in tough times. These are not deep anchored policy of government. These are temporary, contemporary policies. We felt that we must all share the load and to carry the burden. And as government spends money into the economy.
Despite the 50% increase on company tax to all banks in the financial sector, Kina Bank has plans to expand in 2023. Rocky Iso, National EMTV News.
Meanwhile, the extractive sector is high on the Marape government's agenda for 2023. Prime Minister James Marape said at the Back to Business breakfast yesterday that his government continues to advocate giving more to its stakeholders, but with cognition for investors, making fair and equitable return on investments. The Prime Minister spoke on the PPPPW projects, or Papua Pinyang, Pasca LLGs, and Pogera and Wafi Golpu mine projects. Marape, however, did not reveal when these projects will come online.
I could see easily the next 3-4 years our country coming out, and it'll be assisted by Pogera, we start up this year. It'll be assisted by Wafi Golpu construction that will come on as we conclude Wafi Golpu in possibly the first half of this year. It'll be assisted by what we're doing, sequencing Papua LNG construction and Penang LNG construction. The economy will be in a far better place 5 years from today. I ask the banks and I ask those of you major players, assist us carry the load as we go forward. As we go forward, when the economy is growing, you will benefit from the upside because you're already in position. And those who are coming below you will still be growing up.
National Forest Authority is partnering with MyBank to introduce a new banking services for the landowners in forest project areas throughout Papua New Guinea. This basic service will use state-of-the-art technology by using existing mobile networks and will be very accessible for landowners and villages, even in most remote areas.
MyBank and the National Forestry Authority officers, led by the Managing Director John Mosoro and the MyBank Chief Executive Officer Trudy Aggie, met with the landowners of logging project areas of West Sepik Province in Vanimo. Mr. Mosoro said the whole idea is to provide financial literacy and banking services to the landowners in the forestry sector, highlighting that this is part of the forestry industry's efforts to help the national government connect PNG and to take back PNG by getting them involved in the financial aspects of the economy. An agreement is in place, and once reviewed the terms and conditions of the bank, and after visiting the landowners on how they want the banking system, they will include the landowners' view in the agreement and come to an understanding. Mr. Mosoro said that the finalized agreement will be endorsed by the Forest Minister, Salio Waipo, in Vanimo next week to kickstart micro-banking services with landowners throughout PNG, the grassroots banking system where the landowners will have equal opportunity. He added that the main idea also is women will also be involved in the banking services. They will issue 2 cards, one for the landowner company for men and one for the mothers to set up business development activities, since in the forest sector there is availability of funds for the project development benefits and the royalties. All the payments will go into this product, new microbank services. The landowners will access this benefit through banking system. The good thing about this is they will go door to door to every house to obtain details and will issue the cards in that instant. MyBank CEO Trudy Aggie acknowledged the partnership and looks forward to work in collaboration with the department to bring the banking services to the people. Meanwhile, the landowners were very supportive for the partnership and acknowledged the Maraperoso government for these vital services. Sharon Engnui, National EMTV News.
A Level 3 primary school in Bulolo's Buang local level government has not been receiving its tuition fee-free subsidy since 2021. Muniao Primary School head teacher Peter Gapu told EMTV News that despite submitting all the requirements needed by the Morobe Provincial Education Division, the school has been operating without TFF support.
School's head teacher Peter Gapu says since 2021, there has been zero funding from the government except a 5,000 kina grant from the Buang LLG.
No help from the government. The GTF component and basic and the fundings were not made ready when we started off in 2021. Till now, 2023, we haven't received anything from the national government. I, as the teacher, I have the requirements for census and the verification letter and statements. I have already sent it down to Education Office in Leh, but we are still waiting for this GTF component from the government to come into our school.
He says the academic year has started, but students are without curriculum and welfare components of the government tuition fees. He adds the school's administration is also without the administrative governance and infrastructure components of the GTFs since 2021.
For other provinces as well, we haven't received anything. It's the same for another school in this LLG at Papa. We haven't received anything this year and last 2 years since we were established. So I think the authorities should look into this problem, because all schools need basic supplies and funding for the school to develop. For a school to develop, it needs funding from the government. So for now, we are just relying on the school fee, which is not enough, and parents are not reluctant.
Mr. Gapu says the school for the last 2 years have been entirely dependent on the parent support fee component. But the head teacher says given that Munia Primary School is a rural school that is backed by a subsistence agriculture economy, parents have been paying the PSF in trickles. He says currently parents still hold the school 11,675 kina as PSF for 2022. Gapu predicts that if the funds for this year is not received, the school is most likely to suspend term 3 and 4 this year. He says this is because it costs about 20,000 kina to run a level 3 school every year. Sharon Engnui, National EMTV News.
The Catholic Professional Society has called on the Education Secretary, Dr. Uke Combra, to rethink his directive to suspend school heads who are charging and collecting school fees and project fees. President of the Catholic Professional Society, Paul Hariknen, made his statement today at Baroko in Port Moresby. There have been confusions in schools in the country as they are still awaiting the delay in tuition fees. President of the Catholic Professional Society, Paul Hariknen, says that the statement made by Dr. Uke Combra to suspend school heads is unrealistic.
Now, that's a threat to the heads of schools. Now, for us, it's not a simple matter for you to just issue threats to schools. And it is already causing enough confusion. I think the schools want to get a positive message. The heads of schools want to get a positive message, then a direction and a threat. They want to get a positive message that the funds are already deposited in your account.
He furthermore added that the Education Department should admit that there is a problem.
Well, in the discussions, you can be realistic about how much funds the government has. Government has to come out clear and direct with churches and people and schools. So if that's that kind of a consultative forum, a consultative discussion, I'm sure a lot of these issues can be minimized. Maybe not avoided, but can be minimized.
Enga Provincial Police Commander Chief Inspector George Kakas confirmed that a soldier was injured during a shootout between a warring clan responsible for the kidnapping of 11 children.
PPC Kakas told MTV Newsroom that a team from Papua New Guinea Defence Force intercepted a vehicle driven by a tribe called Akols, the same vehicle that was used in the kidnapping of the 11 children from Tole of the Piai Kumbin clan last week. Kakas confirmed that the soldier was injured by the gunshots and immediately rushed to the Wabek General Hospital for treatment. However, the injuries are minor and the soldier is recovering well. Meanwhile, Enga Governor Ipatas has condemned the actions of the Akol tribesmen and calls for those culprits to be brought to justice. PNG Defence Force will release a statement on it later today or tomorrow. Samantha Solomon, National EMTV News.
National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. You're watching National EMTV News. Health services in the rural areas are running out of medical supplies as well as non-maintenance of facilities. The people of Pinu village in the Kairuku district of Central Province has been suffering for almost 10 years since their aid post has less to non-medical supplies as well as the facility lacks renovation. However, the villagers were all pleased with the non-government organization, Child Fund, for funding their aid post to health post with a new staff house opened yesterday.
The people of Pinu village have been walking long distance to access health services. A mother, Michaelin Rauka, expressed the challenges they faced in accessing health services.
So mothers from here struggle to go to the highway to go to the hospital. Those who have the finance, they buy vehicle. Others who don't have it, they walk all the way from here to the highway to look for hospitals to serve.
The mother is now happy that this new health post will help them.
I really appreciate what they have done because it will really help mothers and children around here. Instead of them going out to Agevairu and Doha looking for medicine, will be just served near. It will be very, very helpful to the community.
The non-government organization, Child Fund, renovated and built these facilities to help villages and school children have access to basic health services. The new health post will provide the following services.
So the basic services the health facility will be providing is outpatients. I'm pretty sure that school, which is very near here, will benefit a lot from the outpatients. There is also a delivery room that can serve mothers, and they will be also conducting antenatal clinics because of the delivery room here. And I think it will help solve a lot of problems for the mothers to walk distances to reach Agevairu and Doha health facilities.
Child Fund Health Program Manager thanked the Australian government and others who supported them in completing this project.
All in all, it cost us about 123,000 kina, and that the facility itself, it costed about 64,000 kina, and the staff house costed about 24,000 kina, but inclusive of everything, the opening ceremony, staff costs that on supervisory visits, total to around 123,000 kina.
The Pinu villages, including school children, who will now have easy access to health services at their doorstep. Thomas Sulembari, National EMTV News.
Ambulance is a service that is provided for by any health facility as part of its health services management. This is not the case for the Buang Sub-Health Center in Bulolo's Buang local level government, as they need more money to function.
The late Bulolo MP Sam Basil, through the Bulolo District Health Services and the Buang Local Level Government Administration, has provided an ambulance for the Buang Sub-Health Center. Buang Sub-Health Center officer in charge, Taye Awateng, says since the vehicle was provided to the Buang Sub-Health Center, the Buang Sub-Health Center management decided to charge fees to ensure that the ambulance services are operational. Mr. Awateng confirms that for all referral cases, a 300 kina service fee is charged to transport the patient to the Engau Memorial Provincial Hospital in Leh or the Bulolo District Hospital in Bulolo Town.
Selalu mana yang isu lebay malilipatkan sa fuel and dito something then engine oil o sampai lilipat flow ambulance ni kono kasi isu selalu mana yang so na pernah natin gululin na comeback it's when ni pra sa jam so 300 kina la rucharing patient.
He says, though it may seem as an expensive charge, the 300 kina ambulance fee is the only way to sustain the operations of the ambulance.
Sampai setting sila mana yang people tu mas but na money or something o kluban tapen. 300 kina, may passes 200 kina because fuel because ambulance mas run la mountain kamantap kina. Then mas run so. Duman tila itwara gose mo mapendi sa papisulok ng bulong ng ambulance. Fuel must stop inside the ambulance na rin pa sa ambulance.
Mr. Awateng says it will be unprofessional for the ambulance to be fueled or serviced on credit basis. Mr. Awateng says the Buang LLG and Bulolo District Health Services do not support the daily operations of the ambulance. Cynthia Maku, National EMTV News.
Akatek Aviation College in Papua New Guinea is in preparation to graduate its first batch of students. It is one of the few aviation colleges that offers diploma in aircraft maintenance engineering and diploma in aviation electronic engineering.
This aviation school, which is located in Gordons in the nation's capital, started in 2020, offering educational opportunities for people eager to learn aviation engineering. We are here at the hangar of the Akatek Aviation College, where the students come to get their trainings after being lectured in the lecture rooms.
This is what they call the procedure.
A total of 130 students have been enrolled so far since the school started. Out of these, 36 will graduate in its first batch.
Approximately 130 students going through the two programs and the different diploma that I was talking about. And we are expecting about at least 75 more intakes this month of February. So they will be starting our classes on February 20. So there will be another group that will be joining us. Akatek Aviation College is also registered as a private higher education institution, and which is why our students now can apply through the system of DHERS as well.
Training and Business Development Manager for Akatek Aviation College, Ramon Garey, explained the reason for having an aviation school in PNG.
So it's not only about theory, where they just go through books and watch videos, but after the theory, they do their computer-based training to enhance further what they've learned in class. And then the third requirement is that they need to do their workshop to develop the basic skills they need. So those are important requirements before they go to their practical training at the hangar, because we have our own hangar as well for our students to work on the planes that we have. So those are the stages that they have to go through. So by the time they finish their 3 years here, they are not only equipped in their knowledge, but they are ready with their hands-on skills as well.
Two of the students also shared their experience on how the schools has helped them.
It's been very interesting, and I think it's been filled with a lot of learning as well. You don't just get to learn a few months and then you go and you do your practical experience. You get to learn as you go. Even during your practical experience, you get to learn more and more.
Well, the experience was good. We've learned many things. We've understand how aircraft flies and the system of aircraft work.
They have their learning center in Gordons and their hangar at the Jackson's International Airport. Samantha Solomon, National EMTV News.
Air New Guinea wishes to apologize to its customers for the reduction in service levels. With the recent effects on the airline schedule, traveling passengers in the country are experiencing a higher number of disrupted or downgraded flights. With one of the reasons being the repair work conducted by the National Airports Corporation in Mount Hagen, flights have been downgraded from Fokker 100 to smaller Fokker 70 and Dash 8 aircraft. And with up to 5 flights a day into Mount Hagen, an excess of passengers have been affected by the airline having to operate these small aircraft. Air New Guinea is also working with NAC to reactivate the runway lights at Nadzap and Kavieng, which will enable the airline to resume night operations to both of these critical airports. Meanwhile, Air Niugini will run 2 monthly Madness sales in February, noting the massive interest last week's sales created and the opportunity that these low fares provide to enable Papua New Guineans to travel. The travel periods for these sales fares will be in the next month or so, when the current operational issues with Mount Hagen and the Dash 8 fleets will have been resolved. Now we take a look at the Nest Fund market report. The Kina closed unchanged at $0.2840 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.2765 $0.3885 Australian dollars, $0.2470 euro, 35.50 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading lower, coffee closed higher, cocoa closed lower, copra closed lower, palm oil closed higher, crude oil is trading lower, and copper closed lower. On the stock market, the Dow Jones closed higher, the ASX 200 is trading higher, the All Ordinaries is trading higher. National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Chief Justice Sir Gibbs Salika, during the launch of the criminal law book by author and public solicitor Leslie Mamu, up-and-coming book writers have been encouraged to write books. He said writing books is one of passing educational messages as well as skills that people can utilize in their daily lives.
Leslie Benjamin Mamu.
Having read and used some of the books of author and public solicitor Leslie Mamu, Chief Justice Sir Gibbs Salika, on the launching of the book Criminal Law, challenged young university students and young Papua New Guinea professionals to start using their career or what they are passionate about and put into writing.
Nobody appears to be writing books at the university. A university cannot be a university unless there is research and there's publications.
He said having gone through several books of law and justice to date, some of these books are being used by education institutions and those in the government and private sectors as guide to their everyday living. While Chief Justice highlighted several names when it comes to authors and their books, he would like to see more Papua New Guineans write books on various issues, as well as one that can be used by people for their day-to-day activities.
It's in your head, it's in your mind. And when you do it, you simply tell them, now you go to this page. And that's a sign of an author who knows what he is talking about and who knows where to find that information.
Chief Justice Sir Gibbs Salika says he also has plans to write a book, but that will happen soon after retirement. Godwin Eki, National EMTV News.
A community from the Yamka tribe of Hagen Central District, Western Highlands Province, has combined themselves through a network of interdenomination churches to embrace the concept of growing bulb onions. With support from Fresh Produce Development Agency staff, they have established a 50,000 seedling nursery and a demonstration drying shed, which was launched recently by Chairman of FPDA, Mr. Fabian Cho, and was witnessed by a few local educated elites, the Yamka community.
The concept was birthed 2 years ago and with the help of FPDA has put together a demonstration farm, which is a nursery and a drying shed for curing the bulb onions. The demonstration farm is located inside Konda village. Mr. Cho, in his official launching remarks, gave a testimony of the Alimbari and Gembok communities of Simbu province that are now successfully producing bulb onions through the FPDA support program funded by the Go PNG and overseas donors. This has transformed people in those communities located in very difficult terrain. However, the Yamka people are so fortunate to embrace this one single crop, which has a huge potential to be cultivated on a very flat and fertile land. On behalf of FPDA, Mr. Cho made a commitment of 15,000 kina to the World Interdenomination Foundation, Inc., and called on community support agencies of the government, including district development agencies, to support such initiatives. The interim chairman of the foundation, Pastor Nelson Rom, on behalf of the community and in response thanked FPDA for their tireless support and noted that the never-ceasing support of FPDA CEO Mr. Mark Warinu and his management team. This bulb onion project embraces an outgrower model where the foundation will house the demonstration farm and interested growers will register through local churches and get hands-on training from the demo farm at Kondo Village. Only approved growers will be given free seedlings in the first instance, but will buy the second batch from the foundation from proceeds from the first batch. Cynthia Maku, National EMTV News.
And now moving to overseas news, tens of thousands of teachers have walked out of British schools in the UK.
Across the country, tens of thousands of teachers have staged a walkout. Here in London, thousands gathered outside the government offices in Westminster. Now, this is ultimately a dispute about pay and conditions. Teachers can expect a pay rise of between 5 to 9%, but unions say that represents a real terms pay cut, with inflation in the UK sitting between 9 and 11% in recent months.
We are demanding change. We refuse to be poor.
This has caused huge disruptions for families across the UK. It's estimated up to 85% of schools in England and Wales were either partially or fully closed. But many of the teachers here say that they never wanted it to come to this, and they told us the reasons why that they did eventually decide to take this action.
It's really feeling like the situation is dire, and it feels like if we don't do something about it now, the kids will suffer.
Do you feel like you can live comfortably on your wage?
Not at all. I'm in my overdraft every single month. I can't afford to pay my bills.
This is being described as Walkout Wednesday. Some are saying that this is the biggest day of industrial action the UK has seen in at least the last decade, because it's not just teachers who are striking today. Some bus drivers, some train drivers, tens of thousands of civil servants, including border force agencies, university staff, have also striked today.
The radioactive capsule missing in Western Australia was finally found yesterday.
Absolutely tiny, much smaller than a coin, about a third of the diameter of a 5-cent coin. You can see just how small it is. We have this 3D printed replica. It's not radioactive, but just for comparison. Now, authorities... It's just been a wild week here in Perth. Authorities have been scouring across 1,400 kilometres of the Great Northern Highway to try and find this tiny radioactive capsule. Now, it was first declared lost to authorities last Wednesday, but a hazmat warning wasn't put in place in Western Australia until Friday. But since then, there have been more than 100 personnel, again, scouring through that 1,400 kilometres of highway to try and find this tiny, tiny capsule. Now, it was being transported from a Rio Tinto mine site down to a depot here in Perth, because the machine that this capsule was a part of was broken and needed to be transported for repairs. Now, somewhere along that journey, it fell out of its equipment, out of its casing, and then out of the truck onto the side of the highway. And yesterday, authorities announced that they were able to find it.
National EMTV News continues after the break with Trukai Sport. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Samson Anam Kickboxing Club is looking to host its first event of the year come March 2023. With the aim to promote kickboxing in the country, President Nelson Samson says the club needs sponsor and is calling on local businesses to help support the young people.
Today, President Nelson Samson said currently the Sejongai Stadium is being used for training in preparations for their upcoming event in 4 weeks' time.
President Samson Anam Combat and my club has hosted three local amateur kickboxing shows back in 2015, 2018 and 2021. CIS is a usual venue that we normally use because they support community, they help communities, so they leave the venue to, they allow us to host the event at the venue that in the CIS gym facility.
He added that one of the biggest problems the club is facing is financial constraints. He said he is trying his best to find sponsors so that the event can be hosted.
I have my fights coming up and that's internationally. I've many invitations from international promoters asking me to take part and also taking my boys down, but I'm putting a hold on it for my boys to travel down in Australia because of they're new students and I have to train them hard for a couple of 6 to 7 months to build them up to an international standard before bringing the PNG kickboxing, the team boys down to represent PNG.
Meanwhile, Nelson is also preparing himself for his upcoming international bouts.
For any individual or community or any company that's willing to help us, who can come forward to help us and assist the boys and the youths to get away from criminal activities and drugs and all these stuff.
The team will continue their training until March 10th and 11th when the fight takes place. Godwin Eki, Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Moving to overseas sports now. The Matildas will kick off their 2023 Women's World Cup campaign in front of a potential record crowd, with FIFA confirming their opening group match against the Republic of Ireland will be moved to the tournament's biggest venue, Stadium Australia.
July. No surprises in the squad. Sam Kerr will be leading the way. Claire Hunt, the defender in the squad, the only person caught up into the Matildas camp for the very first time. Squad regulars Ellie Carpenter and Kaya Simon are unavailable due to injury. It's a 6-match tournament. It starts on February 16. Australia will play Czechia in Gosford. They'll play Spain in Sydney and then Jamaica in Newcastle. But of course, all about building up to that World Cup. Important to get some tournament play so they can be at their best come their home World Cup.
Tom Brady, who won a record 7 Super Bowls for New England and Tampa, has announced his retirement.
So officially announces his retirement from the NFL. He's a 7-time Super Bowl winner, played 23 seasons in the NFL. Most people seem to say he's the best player of all time. He's 45 years of age. He announced his retirement last year but changed his mind just 6 weeks later. His team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, were eliminated from the playoffs this year, and he wanted to say that this year his announcement is a little bit more low-key.
I'm retiring for good. I know the process was a pretty big deal last time, so when I woke up this morning, I figured I'd just press record and let you guys know first. So I won't be long-winded. I think you only get one super emotional retirement essay, and I used mine up last year.
Australian Opals basketballer Shyla Hill has been signed by the Townsville Fire in the WNBL.
has played her first match for the Townsville Fire. They beat the Perth Lynx 91-81. She managed 7 points off the bench. This was a weird one. She was only released by the Sydney Flames on the day of the game. She's the first player in 7 years to switch clubs mid-season. She missed the Flames' last 2 games, as did her dad Shane, who was the coach for some unknown reasons. So we'll have to find out a bit more about that, but was looking good out on the court there for her new club.
And that ends True Kai Sports. The Money Plus weather report is next. Stay with us.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
Now we take a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In the southern region, Port Moresby City, cloudy with showers and thunderstorms. Popondetta, cloudy with showers and possible thunderstorms. In Momase region, Lae City, cloudy with some showers. Vanimo, possible brief showers. In the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau, partly cloudy. Buka, partly cloudy with possible brief showers. In the Highlands region, Mount Hagen City, Mendi and Wabeg, cloudy periods with few showers.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
And that wraps up the news, sports and weather for Thursday, the 2nd of February 2023. From all of us here, pleasant viewing. Bye for now.
This news program was proudly brought to you by Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits and Gold Nuggets.